Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine and The Shark. Today is our 159th episode, and we're talking about the 2021 Star Wars The Bad Batch episode, Rampage. So, let's get things started.
Roger. No, I'm Roger. That was Corbin. No, No, he's Corbin. My name's Jack. Yep, we're talking about clones, folks. Strap in.
The Star Wars prequels, as everyone knows, was incredibly divisive when they were released and for a very long time afterwards. It's only recently that they've seemed to have gotten the respect that I feel anyway, that they deserve. And a lot of people agree that the biggest bright spot in it was the Clone Wars series, both the 2D version and the CGI one. Now, what's interesting is this show, Bad Batch, served as a continuation of Clone Wars, showing what happened to a group of defective clone troopers after the events of Order 66.
Yep, and right out the bat you got the more iconic of the bunch, as in Hunter, the leader of the group, Wrecker, big old brutalist and softy of the bunch, Tech, the technical one. His name is not the most original. Crosshair, which is the sniper. If you know TF2, snob's a good job, mate. And their most recent addition, Echo, from, believe it or not, the Clone Wars series himself, who was MIA for most of it until the final season. Go see it if you haven't, because I am not going to spoil it here, but he was definitely a pretty good addition to the bunch, that's for sure.
Basically, this show is TF2 but in space, so if you're a fan of that, you'll probably be a fan of this.
Talking as someone who really never got into Star Wars, I was hearing of other spin-offs between games, series, and all of that, oh, this takes place before this movie, but this takes place before the prequels, but this takes place during the prequels, but before this specific moment in the prequel. For me, it's like, oh my god, what happens in this franchise?
This show really is probably one of the more darker things in the Star Wars universe, in that it shows the fallout from the events of Revenge of the Sith. And it is just such a dark, dark time for Star Wars as a whole.
Yeah, honestly, this entire franchise would make something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe look more cohesive by comparison.
What happens with the overall setting of the show is that the group of clone troopers were not compelled to attack like all of the other usual troopers as they end up fleeing for their lives. Just the concept of the show alone is so good, and the execution is really, really well done. The show begins with the title card of the show, which is done in almost near silence. Then the title card of the episode, which is also done in near silence, and it's just so simple. It's literally just the text on a black background, and it looks really good. It actually sets the mood for the show that this isn't going to be a big Star Wars epic adventure. There's not going to be any epic lightsaber battles or anything like that. It's going to be really realistic and dark and kind of depressing, and they actually do a really good job with it.
Best way I can describe it is something like The Mandalorian, which does pretty much the same thing. You're not on a grand old adventure. You're here for a little bit of perspective outside of the main series, like from the movies and even from the Clone Wars in general, because you're focused here on the Bad Batch, Rogue Clone Force 99, doing stuff to just basically survive in a new world that's post-Republic and pretty much the origins of this new galactic empire. And from what we've seen so far, it's not looking pretty good for everybody, them especially.
The episode itself begins with the Marauder, the personal spaceship of the Bad Batch, making its way through hyperspace. Omega, a female clone trooper, is given the communication link of Crosshair, one of the clone troopers who took part in Order 66. Now, what's amazing about this show, aside from Omega, all of the Bad Batch are voiced by none other than D. Bradley Baker, and he is literally playing off himself for 99% of this show, and just to show what a great voice actor is, he sells it completely. I did not know that was him doing all the voices until I looked it up, because man, this guy has so much range, and to literally act opposite of yourself for almost 20 minutes, that has to be commended.
Oh, absolutely. This guy played all the clone troopers in the Clone Wars series. Say what you will about the guy who played the clones in the original trilogy, aka episodes 1 through 3. D. Bradley Baker's range here goes above and beyond. It is a treat to listen to. The closest example I can give as comparison is DDD and Eskar Dragoon being played by the same person. He's talking to a different person. It is just that hilarious and amazing.
The best part is you can tell it's the same base rudimentary voice for all of the clones, with just different tones or inflections or tics to their speech, just minor subtle differences to give them that each little bit of individuality that they all were striving for. And that is the mark of a really good voice actor. And when I say voice acting is more than just reading a script in a sound booth. You are actually doing a full acting range.
Exactly.
Easily. The member who gives her the communication link is Tech, who, amusingly enough, uses the exact same voice as Klaus from American Dad, and obviously we all know who's going to show up now. Oh, hi guys, I got killed in Order 66 and now I'm a Force Ghost. Boy, the last time I had so many guys shooting at me, I thought they were going to buy me dinner first. No, but seriously, the blasters were really painful.
Yeah, it was really not great. I really didn't like that.
Roger somehow got executed and did executions at the same time during Order 66.
I can believe
I could
that.
definitely see him do that. Omega plays with the comlink before Echo tells her that it is not a toy, but he's wrong. It's Star Wars. They're going to make toys out of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, I hear that and I just think of that one scene from Toy Story where Buzz activates his little communicator on his wrist and it's just like Omega going like, and there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Omega asks why they are going to the planet Ord Mantell, as she says that she thought they'd lie low. Tech says that there's a bounty hunter after her, and we don't know whether or not it's Dennis from the SpongeBob movie or Samus, but we'll find out. Echo says that he knows an informant named Sid who might be able to help. Wrecker, another Bad Batch member, asks if they could trust whoever Sid is. Echo says that the Jedi trusted Sid, as Tech sarcastically remarks that all the Jedi are dead now. Echo then asks if they have a better option, as Omega agrees through the comlink, as the Bad Batch stare at her in confusion. She then says that, I know, it's not a toy, in a pretty good gag there. Which, the show does have moments of levity like that, which I do like. It's not just relentlessly dark for the entirety, but at the same time, I like that they stick to the tone. They don't just try to swerve all over the place, like for example in Marvel movies, where every single serious moment is undercut by a joke. They don't do that here. And I like that. We then cut to the spaceship making a landing, and then cut to the Bad Batch and Omega walking through the streets. The Bad Batch asks Omega what to do if she gets in trouble, as she says to notice her surroundings and trust absolutely no one but the squad, and if she gets in trouble, to always use the comlink. The group then make their way to a cantina in an alleyway and enter it, as Tech sarcastically remarks at how charming it is. The bar is basically run down and dirty, with only a couple of aliens in there fighting amongst each other. And yeah, this must be the Star Wars equivalent of the Thug Tug. As the Bad Batch take off their helmets and go inside, Hunter asks which one of them is Sid. Echo says that nobody ever told him what Sid looks like, and obviously, Sid is actually a ground sloth, but regardless. Tech says that would have been information that they should have learned yesterday, to paraphrase Adam Sandler. Hunter then approached a female Trandoshan, a lizard-like alien from the franchise, to ask her about Sid, and this is why we are discussing this episode. The last female Trandoshan we talked about was Selak from Young Jedi Adventures. The design of this character, which we're keeping it a secret for only a little while, I don't particularly care for it. I get what they were going for, but it doesn't really look lizard enough for me. You know, at least with Selak from Young Jedi Adventures, she had a bit more of a reptilian type feature to her. This one kind of looks like just a green-skinned person with scales, which, granted, there's nothing wrong with that, and her character is great, but I don't know, just for me, the design is really off, because the regular design of the Trandoshans, they kind of look a little bit like the visitors from V. I did not get that vibe from her at all, unfortunately. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
I honestly don't know why, but when I look at her, I get these Ross vibes from her. Darth Vader, you didn't turn in your paperwork.
Oh man, that is great.
Yeah, I could believe that. A little more on the design. Yeah, I kind of get some weird ass vibes from her. Like, she reminds me of those saurians from Doctor Who, but with bits of like gremlin and prickly more than anything else, because obviously. But yeah, that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from her.
But yeah, as a whole, her character is great, but the design is definitely going to hurt her, which we'll see about in the Dragoness Scale. The Trandoshan, voiced by none other than Rhea Perlman, says that the name doesn't ring a bell. Hunter then asks if two of the other aliens there are Sid, as the Trandoshan tells them that they're in the wrong place, and unless they're there to buy something, to get lost. The Trandoshan woman then walks away as Wrecker sarcastically remarks what a great plan this was. Echo says that he was sure this was the place as he remembers Jedi coming there. Tech says that perhaps Sid left when the Jedi did, before sarcastically remarking that Sid left because of the health code violations. And D. Bradley Baker is so good because you have to actually realize he was literally just playing off himself when he's having these detailed conversations amongst the Bad Batch. And it really is amazing stuff. Go ahead, Angron.
He nails the first Clone Wars. Few things have ever truly topped D. Bradley Baker as the clone troopers. Like, all the clone troopers. Not just the Bad Batch. We're talking Captain Brax, Commander Cody, all of them. Even in stuff like Jedi Fallen Order, he still retains his role as the clones, and it is amazing to hear every time.
It really, really is a great job what he does with this. Omega continues to play with the comlink as the Trandoshan watches her and smirks. Omega then approaches her as the Trandoshan asks if, "Have you got a problem, Tiny?" Omega then realizes that the Trandoshan is Sid as she then smirks, laughing how you're smarter than all your friends over there. The Bad Batch are talking about how Sid was their only informant and how they came all this way for nothing, only for Omega to use her comlink to tell them that she found Sid. She then points towards Sid as Sid looks back at them in bemusement. They then go into the back of the cantina as Sid then laments how the Jedi trusted her and her instincts, but since they're all gone, her services have gone down because of the Empire. Hunter says that times have changed for all of them, as Sid says that she's never had clone deserters come to her before. Tech begins explaining what happened before Sid cuts him off, saying, "It's cute that you think I actually care," and everything with the design notwithstanding, her actual personality is fantastic. This is the type of character that I really like to see. The no-nonsense, untrustworthy, but can we trust them informant? And yeah, she is a great example of that archetype. She really, really is a fun character. Sid then asks them what they want as Echo inserts his cybernetic arm into the terminal. Go ahead, Matt.
So, looking at the typical Trandoshan a bit more, and especially because of what they did with Sid, I believe I figured out why she doesn't look more like a Trandoshan or what we were expecting of a Trandoshan. The Trandoshans are a bit more feral or animalistic with their faces, but because Sid has so much dialogue and is such a important secondary character in this series, they wanted to make her a bit more human-like, I think, so that we could see just how snarky or expressive she was, because there were going to be so many close-ups of her with dialogue, which for weird guys like us, that's a bit of a down thing, because it doesn't look more like a traditional Trandoshan, it looks more like human cosplaying as Trandoshan.
I feel this way, you could have still kept the feral design while making her a personality. I really feel like that is basically not an excuse for it. I'm not blaming you, but I'm just saying, I personally feel that there was a way that they could actually make it work, you know?
Agreed.
It's definitely telling when something like Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures gets Trandoshans a little more accurate than Clone Wars. But I'm not going to fault this show for trying to do something a little more unique than what we've gotten in both the show and the movies proper.
Sid sarcastically remarks for them to make themselves at home, as Hunter shows her a hologram of the bounty hunter. Sid doesn't know who she is, but says that the woman before them is definitely a bounty hunter. Echo asks if she could find out who the bounty hunter is, as Sid asks what the Bad Batch could do for her. The group is taken aback by this as she asks sarcastically, "What, are you fresh out of the tube?" before saying that she'll get them what they need if they only do a job for her. She then says that's how this mercenary sort of thing works, as Echo is surprised at this. Sid then sarcastically calls Omega the brains of your little operation, as Hunter asks what the job is. Sid says that it's a rescue mission as a child named Mushi was taken by slavers on the other side of the planet. She tells them to get the kid in exchange for their information. Wrecker asks who will get the bounty, as Sid sarcastically remarks, "Ooh, look, it can talk," before saying that she'll split it 70-30, with the majority of it going towards her. Wrecker says that they could do it in their sleep as he walks off. Sid smirks, knowing that they have a deal no matter what. She then tosses them a flash drive with the information they need, telling them to not screw it up. I love the different design of the Bad Batch members. They don't just make them all uniformly look like the same person. No, they actually have their own unique appearances in line with their own unique personalities, which I really do like. Hunter has this whole discount John Rambo vibe, which works well for him. Tech is the computer nerd with the big goggles. It really, really looks good.
Yeah, I really love that kind of touch. Like, with most of the other clones, Rex included, sadly, you do get the same face, but with little bits and touches here that make them somewhat unique. Otherwise, it's just basically clones of all the same base material, aka Jango Fett. But with the Bad Batch, you got a lot more uniqueness because Wrecker, Tech, Crosshair, hell, even Omega, all of them just look so different, and it really adds to their character in ways that definitely make them stand out in an entire series where clones are seen as nothing more than expendable.
The fact that they go against that really works in the show's favor. We then cut to the Marauder flying to the other side of the planet, before we then cut to the interior of the ship. Wrecker is groaning as Hunter asks if he is alright. Tech says that the, and forgive me if I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this, Zygarian slave traders are hiding in the ruins of the old Ord Mantell city. Omega asks what a slave trader is, as Tech says that it's someone who buys and sells people for credits. Omega is shocked at this, as Echo says that they don't have a choice in this. Omega says that isn't right, as Echo agrees and saying that they will free the child no matter what, with Tech pointing out that they will also get some much needed credits out of it. Omega tells Muchi that they'll rescue them as he cuts to the ship landing, and the Bad Batch leaving with their weapons. They leave the city and look through binoculars as Tech notes that he only sees one child, who, in a really, really dark touch, this child is in chains and is openly weeping at their fate, which, again, for Star Wars, is some really, really dark and realistic stuff. It's not gonna be like, oh, funny space hap time. No.
Remember, folks, because this is animation, it must be for little kids.
TV violence is fine as long as you don't show a nipple. Bear in mind that before Bad Batch and before some of the other darker animated stuff, there was a little episode in the Clone Wars, minor spoilers for a relatively old show, but there was a legit worm that could infect people and legit make Geonosian bugs zombies.
I would also like to note that between the two Star Wars series that we've talked about on this podcast, we went from the little tiny, big-headed Jedi children bouncing around happily everywhere to child slavery. Can we get those kids in this show?
Yep, I don't think anything shows how different Star Wars can be than that. Omega laments what happened to Muchi, as Tech says there are 24 hostiles there. Wrecker says that will be a simple job, as Omega is ready to join them. Echo tells her to get back on the ship, as Omega is saddened by this. While the Bad Batch leave, Omega sulks and seemingly walks away. The group then make their way across the landscape in a really well-animated shot, which, not to give any flags to Clone Wars, that show still looks good all these years later, but the animation on this show, too, is phenomenal. It really looks amazing as well. I mean, granted, you have Lucasfilm behind them. These guys practically invented amazing CGI in movies, but it still looks really, really good. Hunter says that Echo will be the lookout, and Wrecker will draw out the forces while he and Tech save the child. The two then go their separate ways as Echo spots two speeders before a reptilian creature walks behind him. Echo pulls out his blaster before the creature attacks him off screen, causing him to fall. The others are all shocked by this before they are trapped inside of an electrified net, and obviously what happened was Robbie Rotten gave the slavers the net. When they said go, they threw it, and thankfully they threw it at them, not him. We then cut to Sid eating as a mysterious figure on a hologram talks to her in an alien language. Sid tells the man that his employer will be reunited with Muchi soon, and that there's no need to threaten her. She tells the figure that she has her best men working on it as the figure then cuts the transmission. We then cut to the ship, where a gonk droid then approaches Omega, and if you don't know what the gonk droid is, it is probably one of the best Star Wars characters of all time, because it is basically Box Boy, but robot, and I love it. Omega tells the Gonk droid that she managed to make her clone trooper toy she has into a Bad Batch member by drawing a symbol on its chest, which really says a lot about the world building of this show, where you actually have to sit back and think, oh my god, they made toys of the clone troopers in universe. That is some dark stuff there.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of cute, though. To Omega, the Bad Batch remains her new family. A little cute something to show that she very much values them a little more than personally expected.
Let me get this straight. These guys are responsible of all the deaths of all of the Jedis in the galaxy, and you are buying their merchandise!
I don't know. I thought it looked a little fetching. Omega then hears a noise from outside and hides from the slavers. She manages to escape from both of them as two of them ride off on their speeders. Omega tries to contact the rest of the Bad Batch on their communicators as she then looks through the binoculars. She sees the Bad Batch being captured and furrows her brow. We then cut to the Bad Batch in electrode chains as Wrecker is trying to break the cuffs, but is electrocuted for doing so. Echo yells at them but is also shocked as Tech tells them to save their energy. They will need it. The reptilian creature from earlier then lands on top of the temple and screeches. The alien child continues to sob at their fate as Wrecker tells her that, "Don't worry, kid, we're the cavalry." Hunter then asks Tech how they can get out of there, as Tech admits that he doesn't know. Wrecker sarcastically thanks Tech for being so smart, while Tech says they've never been in this kind of situation before and he has no idea how to proceed. Hunter says that they have to contact Omega, while Echo says that their communicators are with the weapons. Tech then notices Omega nearby, then wordlessly tells Hunter that she's there too. Omega waves at them before pointing out some cables and goes to hide. Rainey, the leader of the slavers, arrives, and what's interesting about these alien designs, they look almost feline in a way, but not, if that makes any sense. Like, they're almost feline, kind of like how Sid is almost reptilian, but not. In this case, it actually, I think, looks better than Sid does in terms of representing their species.
I mean, it's not quite the feline race from Star Trek who nail the feline emotion and look a little better than the Zygerians. You could do better than something like Sid.
Rainey says that the Bad Batch looks strong and will fetch a very high price as Omega tries to sneak her way over. Echo sees Omega approaching them, then makes a distraction. He does this by taunting Rainey that he's lucky they don't have their gear with them. Omega continuously tries to sneak her way over, but ends up dislodging a rock, causing the Zygerians to notice her. Rainey goes to see what's going on, but Echo kicks a rock into another slaver, knocking him down. The slavers then all begin whipping Echo, as Rainey says they can have one less slave, threatening to feed him to the giant lizard, which, again, the last time we talked about Star Wars, we were doing the preschool spin-off, and now we're doing this. It is such a total whiplash, no pun intended. It is so crazy. Rainey then begins to monologue about all of his plans, while Omega sees a cage underneath her and gets an idea. She attempts to open the cage and let the beast out, but she is caught by one of the slavers. The slaver takes her to Rainey and says that he caught her sneaking around. Omega says that I wasn't sneaking, I was unlocking, as the gate begins to budge. And, things would have gone so much better for these guys. They should have had Muldoon there. Shoot! Shoot! It turns out that what's in the cage is not a velociraptor, but it is a young rancor. It bursts out and begins attacking literally everyone and everything. The slavers shoot at it before the rancor picks up a boulder and throws it at several of them. It continues to rampage as Tech remarks that this was not the kind of distraction he was hoping for. Wrecker says that they are getting out of there and manages to break through their chains. They then rip off their neck braces as Omega approaches the child, telling Muchi that she is safe. The alien father says that his daughter is not Muchi, but Muchi is the Rancor, which, two things. Number one, this actually took me off guard the first time I saw this. I was like the characters in that I was not expecting this at all. That got me pretty good. And number two, the way they do this, they don't have the alien father speak English or, oh, we have to use a translator to understand this guy. He says it in his native language, and the Bad Batch understand what he's saying with his pointing and his facial expressions, which is such a good detail. I love that they do that. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, you know how effective a plot twist this is? I did a second watch through of this episode, and even then, I still didn't exactly see that the Rancor, Muchi, was what they were supposed to be after. I 100% genuinely felt the confusion of the Bad Batch on this one. That is how effective a twist this is.
Muchi continues to rampage as Echo, much like me, is in shock over the reveal. Muchi storms off as the Bad Batch then put on their uniforms, with Hunter saying that they need to capture her to get the info from Sid. Muchi knocks a slaver that's riding on their speeder, which manages to kill him in the explosion, while the Bad Batch and the other slaves all run off. Omega asks what will happen to them, as Echo says that he and her will get them to safety, leaving with the slaves. As they leave, Muchi continues to rampage, attacking the slavers who attempt to whip her. While she continues to beat up the guards, Wrecker notes that, oh, she's doing just fine on her own. One of the slavers attempts to shoot a net at her, but she dodges it and knocks him down. And one thing to point out, the background music in this part, I don't know if you guys heard it, to me it sounds eerily like A Night on Bald Mountain, which really makes me wonder if that was intentional.
Probably my favorite part of this confrontation that Muchi is having with the slavers, and I love anytime any piece of animation does this. He beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
The Bad Batch approach Muchi, but Rainey appears riding the lizard, knocking them all to the side. Muchi attempts to attack Rainey, but the lizard whips its tail at her. He then corners Muchi as the beast starts to cry, but is then tackled by Hunter. Muchi manages to flee, as Rainey says that Hunter will not get away with this. Hunter pulls out a knife and tells the others to save Muchi. The two then engage in combat, with Rainey managing to electrocute his arm, but Hunter still managing to get up and fight. After a long, really intense and well-animated battle, like, this isn't an epic lightsaber fight, it's just two desperate guys beating the hell out of each other, and it looks so realistic. Like, you could easily see this in a serious action movie, not, it's something like Star Wars, and it's really, really well done.
Yeah, it's pretty nice when they add a little touch of realism in a series that's pretty out there like Star Wars. Like, don't get me wrong, I will absolutely stand by stuff that involves lightsabers, not to mention blaster fights, starship battles, yada yada yada, all that fun stuff. But then you see moments like this that make you realize it's a lot more grounded than upon first blush, and I very much appreciate when a series can do that and still make it feel very entertaining for it.
Hunter then finally manages to beat up Rainey, knocking out the head slave trader. Echo manages to shoot some guards, while Omega sees one of the crossbows and takes it with her. The lizard follows Muchi through the ruins of the city, tackling her with its tail. Muchi takes it and bites into the lizard's tail, causing the lizard to screech in pain, while she then lifts it up and slams it into the ground repeatedly before it runs away. And somewhere in Big Ape Heaven, King Kong is watching this and smiling down at her. This is a battle between a lizard that he would truly be proud of.
So, this Muchi versus the lizard fight is a whole 30 seconds of the episode. That's how much time they put into this. To which a lot of people would ask, is this really necessary? Do we need this for the story? To which I would retort, yes, we needed this.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it looks so good too, and it just feels so realistic that they do such a great job. Wrecker and Tech then arrive, as the former asks the latter how to stop Muchi's rampage. Tech says that rancors follow a social hierarchy and must be challenged in order to tame. Muchi then roars as Wrecker says he could do that, then runs up to the beast and tackles it to the ground and yells at her. Muchi then easily tosses him aside before he jumps onto her back and begins strangling her, which this again is a really intense fight sequence, and you get to see just how tough of a guy Wrecker is to take on a beast like this one-on-one, and even though she technically is an infant rancor, she's still giving him a really good fight. We then cut to Echo and Omega leaving the slaves to speeders and telling them that they are free now as they ride off. The pair then go back to the others, and this show isn't known for being comical, but this is a really nice comedic moment. As they arrive, Echo asks Tech how long Wrecker has been finding the rancor, as Echo says, too long. It turns out the pair have been literally wrestling with each other for so long, they manage to tire themselves out, as Muchi manages to collapse first, meaning that Wrecker won. And yeah, that guy is a certified badass for doing that, managing to go toe-to-toe with a rancor for so long and winning, so good on you, Wrecker. Omega notes how she looks so cute up close as they then decide to leave. We then cut to Sid as Bib Fortuna, one of Jabba the Hutt's henchmen, arrives to collect their bounty. And number one, Bib Fortuna is the swirly head noodle guy, if you don't know who that is. And number two, in a really neat touch, the rancor they caught was the mother of the one that Jabba uses later on, and the one that Luke Skywalker kills. Which, that again, is extremely dark for a show like this, because when you figure, they've gotten so close to this cute creature, they managed to beat up a bunch of slavers, they managed to save it and that, and it's only going to be used to kill hundreds of thousands of beings, and then its child is going to do the same thing before Luke Skywalker kills it. Really dark stuff. Even the adorable moments have a tinge of darkness to it, and I like that.
One day they're absolutely adorable allies, the next day they get crushed by a giant door with a guy crying into a big man's chest. Star Wars, everybody!
Sid tells Bib that she always delivers on her promises, only for him to yell at her. Sid says for Jabba to be patient, as it is a very delicate situation, as we then hear off-screen roaring. Omega is riding on top of Moochie with a smug expression, as Wrecker pets her muzzle. Bib Fortuna runs out to see her as Sid tells him that all is well. She then asks to be paid as he snaps his fingers and a guard hands her credits. He then hugs Moochie, which, again, really is such a sweet moment until you realize what is going to happen in the future. I give them all the credit in the world they did something like that. Wrecker and Omega then wave goodbye to Moochie as she roars at them one more time. Sid then tells them about how she was so impressed by them, as Echo says that she could have told them they were hunting a rancor. She sarcastically remarks how, "Oh, it must have slipped my mind," then tells Hunter to meet her in her office. She tells Hunter that the bounty hunter is named Fennec Shand, a woman who has proven herself to be ruthless. Hunter asks who hired her, as Sid says that she doesn't know, but Fennec is working on commission, and I know that well because I too work on commission. Sid then tells Hunter that he needs both friends and money if he wants to survive, as he says that they don't have much of either. Sid then says, "It's a good thing you met me," and gives him their cut. She then says that there's more of it if he'll keep on working for her. Sid then remarks how a bounty hunter like Fennec being after them must mean that they're pretty valuable. Hunter frowns at this as Sid smirks, saying that she's very good at keeping secrets and for him not to worry. And the episode itself ends with Hunter scowling at her, clearly not trusting the Trandoshan, and that is basically it for this episode. Later on in the series, Sid would end up betraying the Bad Batch to the Empire, showing off just what a despicable character she is, and yeah, overall, I really did like this show. I mean, anything compared to Young Jedi Adventures would be better, but no, even discounting that, this is a really fun and well-made show. Well, not necessarily fun, but a well-made and an extremely interesting show. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely up there with something like The Dragon Prince. That is a very strong start with pretty great characters, adorable setting, dark implications, and while this one definitely goes a little more over the edge than that show does, both were one of those shows that definitely caught my interest the first time I saw them, and it is honestly amazing that stuff like this exists in a world where we're past the Skywalker finale trilogy.
Bad Batch got excellent reviews and is considered to be a highlight of recent Star Wars for a reason. Now, apparently, the last season faltered a little bit, which I haven't seen the whole show, so I can't say about it, but apparently, at least it wasn't Game of Thrones level bad, where it's sullied the entire show. I am really glad that we got to talk about this, because, man, number one, of course, is a breath of fresh air compared to the last Star Wars thing we talked about, but even discounting that, this is such a well-made and well-put-together show. I enjoyed it so much, and man, I really hope that Star Wars continues to go in this direction and stuff like Andor. That would be fantastic. Now that is going to lead to the question of the week, which is, what is your favorite Star Wars character? I'll go first. And as a whole, for me, with Star Wars, it's one of those things that I always liked watching Star Wars, but I never really thought of it, like, continuously, what my favorite character was, or what my favorite movie was. It was just a franchise I think I enjoyed passively. But with that being said, I'm going to have to go with my boy, the drone himself, R2-D2, because, man, what an amazing little character he is. You gotta figure, for science fiction of 1977, pre-Star Wars, most people had a very narrow vision of robots. They mostly thought of probably the robot from Lost in Space, danger, danger, Will Robinson, or they thought of humanoid cyborgs like the ones from Westworld. R2 completely took that and turned it on its head, with how he has no intelligible lines of dialogue. He is literally just a small little prop, and yet he is such a great character. It is absolutely amazing, and C-3PO and him being such a great little double act is so much fun. Love the little Laurel and Hardy vibe they have going on. More of that in any medium is great, so more please. Ben Burr's voice for R2-D2 is so good as well. If you don't know who Ben Burr is, he's an absolute legend. He also did the voice of Wall-E, so that right there was just awesomeness. As a whole, I just have to say that the reason I'm picking him is, number one, he has so many great moments. Even in the prequels, he really has a lot of cool stuff to do. Even in Revenge of the Sith, when he flies and he burns the two droids, that is such an awesome moment. I'm sorry, The CGI might not be perfect in that moment, and the second thing is, of course, the original trilogy is great, and I kind of wish the sequel trilogy gave him a little more to do. BB-8 was great in the first one, but after that, I think he kind of became a marketing ploy in a way that R2 never was, you know? But yeah, that's going to be my choice. It's going to be R2-D2 for my favorite Star Wars character. Angron, what would your choice be?
So my answer is going to be a little out there, all things considered. That being said, this definitely comes from a source that I really enjoyed and really added so much. Definitely enough that it got me a little invested in continuing the series that it was in. So yeah, if it's not going to be the clone troopers from either the Clone Wars or the Bad Batch as a little bit of a hard mode, I'm 100% going to go with BD-1 and Cal Kestis, actually, from Star Wars The Jedi Fallen Order series. Cal on his own is pretty neat, talks a little too much for the most part, somewhat of a deadpan notion here and there, even though he does give more emotion than what I'm currently describing. Bear in mind, you are playing as him. You are playing as this guy who has survived the fall of the Jedi Order and is just trying to survive and trying to rebuild the Order as much as he can. And sometimes that means he can afford to be a little deadpan because everything that's happened to him definitely deserves to be a little not all there. So yeah, him on his own probably would be a little too much. Luckily, we have our own BD-1 unit. Granted, you got someone like R2 deliver Snark and just ultimately be the series mascot, if not Baby Yoda. My money's on BD-1. BD-1 is such a pal. This guy was able to stop a Jedi Inquisitor, literally short-circuited Darth Vader. This guy has literal life stims that can save you in-game. No joke. He really plays off of Cal really nicely. All the upgrades you get via Cal, finding stuff on various lightsaber tables, they really develop him and Cal. They both are developing each other in ways that not only make them grow stronger in terms of combat, but it also makes them better as characters. They have each other now and just go out into various different places, Dathomir, Kashyyyk, and they do it together. And that is just amazing. That is like near Banjo and Kazooie levels of character building off each other. So yeah, I'm going to pick those two for my answer.
Great choices there. Let's see, Matt, who would your picks be?
All right, so you would probably expect me to go with an animated one or something like that, given my history. No, I'm actually going straight to the main source here. Say what you will about Lucas, and especially because of the prequel movies, I say that he has created a character that I think has the most full and complete character arc of any character that's ever been made, not just in Star Wars, but in the entirety of cinema history. Anakin Skywalker. Lucas did a brilliant thing here. All 6 movies, all of them, follow Anakin in some capacity. Be it from his humble origins in the first movie, rise to power in the second, fall in the third, and then fourth and fifth, just being the omnipotent powerhouse that was Darth Vader, to his complete redemption in the sixth, and fulfilling his initial promise of saving the galaxy. It is incredible to see a 6-movie follow-through that has such a wide roller coaster for a character, and nothing has ever been done like that before or since.
Not only is Darth Vader probably one of the most iconic movie characters, period, but like you said, I give Lucas all the credit in the world with the prequels. I never got on the prequel hate bandwagon, and I'm going to tell you why, because it is just so well made. How we see Anakin as like a cute child in the first one, then in the second one we see him potentially being led on the dark path, and in the third one, he just goes off the rails. I have to give Lucas all the credit in the world. People meme it, people make jokes about it and that, but the part that always gets me is the part with the younglings in Revenge of the Sith. Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we gonna do? And Anakin just unsheaths his lightsaber and the door closes. That is so dark. I give Lucas all the credit in the world for that. He had the balls to have Anakin kill little kids. I give him all the credit in the world to show just how twisted and warped Anakin Skywalker was. And he didn't win either, because you gotta figure, he wound up being Darth Vader, and yeah, Vader looks cool, but his entire existence is nothing but pain and torture. The guy, he breathes like that because he has no lungs.
Yeah, and to piss on his grave even more, not only did he end up losing his wife because he inadvertently ended up making her heart a little harder to function, thanks to being a little bit of an angy boy, but how he got to there, yeah, he kind of dug his own grave with him being an angsty guy and just ultimately being a little bit up his own ass about wanting to be a Jedi Master.
Yeah, easily. And again, Matt, that is a fantastic choice right there.
And it's one of those things that I don't think that this would have worked as well as it did if we didn't have either portion. If we just had the original 4 through 6 trilogy, he'd be a good character. We'd see that he was an evil guy that redeemed himself in the end. That's fine. If it was just 1 through 3, we'd see a good kid fall to evil. That'd be pretty cool to see in and of itself. You need all 6 to see that full, complete arc. That's what makes this.
So yeah, that is a fantastic choice right there. So let's see. Shark, what would your pick be?
Well, this is gonna be an interesting one because, as I said at the beginning, I am not like really a big Star Wars guy. Like, oh, it's not something I even commonly know. Like, I only seen the original trilogy. That's it. I know the story of like the prequels and other shows, do osmosis and all of that. And one of those things that kind of let me know more about the story in its own way is, well, it's a parody, and yeah, the main character of said parody is like the most memorable Star Wars character for me, and that will be Luke Skywalker, played by Chris Griffin.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
In a way, but Chris fits perfectly as him in a comedy sense, and I love his quotes, like the big twist where Darth Vader tells them, "Oh, Luke, spoiler alert, I am your father." Well, that makes sense a lot, but I don't really see how, what? Or after he escapes, after they cut his right hand and the gang is in the ship and, "Look, is that you? Wave your right hand." "No, your right hand." "No, you." "It's me, you fucks."
Yeah. It's me, you fuckers.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, I kind of like that they chose Chris as the main character because, let's be honest, if they did these parodies nowadays, it will be like Stewie, who is the main character, who it will be Luke Skywalker, and Darth Vader will be some other random character like the chicken maybe, but yeah, I don't know why, I think it fits a lot for Chris, and the way he plays Luke Skywalker works perfectly.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree on that.
So that's gonna be my answer.
That's a good choice. That probably was one of the best things Family Guy ever did. At least were like the first two. The third one was cute, but I don't know if it was as funny as the last one. But they had to do, of course, finish the trilogy, because if not, everyone would have asked them, why didn't you finish the trilogy? But, that's a fun choice right there. They really have so many great jokes in that special. And now it is time for the patent-pending Dragoness Scale. We're going to be ranking both Sid and Muchi. And I'll go first. And for Sid, I like her character, but the biggest issue with her, the big millstone around her neck, she doesn't really give anything in terms of design. It really, to me at least, just looks like green-skinned, slightly scaled humanoid. And I'm going to give Sid a score of 7 out of 10. And literally, all of that is just based on character, because again, there is literally almost nothing here in terms of design, sadly. Now, with Muchi, it's kind of the opposite, because her characterization is great. I love how they actually make her so badass, and the fight sequence with the giant lizard definitely bumps her up a couple of points, but the design, too, is really well done. So for Muchi, I'm actually going to give her the same exact score as Sid. I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10, too, because she also is such a well put together character. She's not just like, oh, dumb feral beast monster. They actually give her things to do, and I like that they do that. So yep, that's going to be my pick. 7 out of 10 for both of them. Angron, what would yours be?
Yeah, I agree that the design on Sid definitely doesn't do her any favors, and her character, yeah, it makes sense. Given what I know about her after watching the series, I'm sadly going to have to go with 6 out of 10 for her. There are certainly a better character. She does have her more humane moments, but at the end of the day, she's just an informant. She's a little bit of a black market dealist, so sad to say, her other nature ultimately won out in the end. So sadly, she's getting a 6 out of 10 for me. Mochi, however, that gal is 100% getting an 8 out of 10. Not really the biggest fan of rancors, to be perfectly honest, but how they utilize Muchi in this episode is adorable, and tying it into Jabba's thing helps and makes it so that you ultimately feel a little bad about her going forward, and also the little bond between her and Wrecker certainly helped. Wrecker, give this guy a bunch of teddy bears before he goes into battle, and this guy will fight and die for you. That is pretty much the vibe I get from him. And Muchi, of all characters, certainly helps with that. So yeah, I am definitely going to go with an 8 out of 10 for Muchi. Like, not the best, but she definitely is a step up from someone like Sid.
Yep, I can definitely see why. Because again, they did such a good job with Muchi as a whole. It really, really is such a great design. Let's see, Matt, what would you give both of them?
I'm perfectly in line with you today, Lud. So with Sid, as I've described, her less feral features kind of do detract from the fact that she is a Trandoshan. They humanized her a little bit too much, I feel, which on its own would probably be like a point, maybe two at most, taken off, because otherwise I really do like how snarky and sarcastic she is. Her characterization's great. She's very funny. Basically, every time that she's in the show is just really well done. Yeah, she probably would have been an 8 or 9. The problem is, and this is from having watched the whole show, the final season does hurt because what they end up doing, without spoiling anything, they just drop her. Disappears at the end. Nothing's said, nothing's brought up, nothing. She's gone. Like, it is so weird, and this is another reason I think that the last season is nowhere near as good as the rest of the show, because they don't seem to know how to end it, and that's one of the problems. They'll just have characters disappear like that. With Muchi, she would, again, be the prototypical 5 out of 10 for me because of the way I rate this, because in essence, she is literally just miniature space giant monster. What really sells it here is, as you said, how much characterization they gave her in that little bit of time that she is in this episode. Did we need a kaiju battle in Star Wars? No, but we really appreciate it. Did we need to see her and Wrecker going at it to the point of each of them passing out from having gone at each other so hard? No, it's really great. It's really funny. It helps the characterization. Thank you. The early seasons understood what to do with all of these characters so well, and it shows in even their animal characters. It makes them so fun and entertaining.
Anyway, let's see, Shark, what would yours be?
With Sid, pretty much what has been said, her design really leaves some be desired and all of that. And yeah, for me, she's kinda just there. Like, oh, she's at the beginning, tells the team stuff, and she disappears for a good bunch of the episode only to show up at the end. And it's like, okay, this honestly could have been done by any other character, so you didn't really give me much to work here, so I'm actually gonna give her a 6, honestly. Muchi, on the other hand, she was giant monster and all of that. She had more relevance in the plot, or at very least in the climax. You know, she's surrounded by that level of tragedy you did mention earlier with we know what's gonna happen to them, and they are not entirely a giant monster. They have personality, they have some story, we know their species, what's going to happen, and all of that. So you did bring more to the table. I'm actually gonna give Muchi a higher score than Sid, and I'm gonna give them an 8.
Okay, not bad. So that's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions, or if you want to see Sid fall into a time warp where she could team up with Selak, you can feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us at Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Be sure to visit us at Blue Sky at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Like and hit the bell icon. Leave a comment. Any comments are appreciated. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 2013 movie Orc Wars. We're going from Star Wars to Orc Wars, and we're going from probably a big budget CGI animated show to a really small indie movie that, despite their low budget, really did try their best. But how good will it be? We'll have to wait and see. But that'll be it for this week. Until then, thank you all so much for watching, and until then, take care.
Later, y'all. May the force be with you.
Peace out.
Adios. See you all next week.